You're listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. Hi, I'm Francine.
And I'm Carrie.
We're two best friends who can't stop talking, usually about Disney stuff.
Sometimes we have fascinating guests, and sometimes it's just us. But it's always positive and fun.
We're happy to have you join our chat. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hello, Carrie.
Hello, Francine.
Oh, look, she's calling me Francine this morning. We're both so excited that we're not alone on the podcast.
Yes.
We are.
Everybody else is excited. We're not alone either.
I know. Everybody else is like, thank goodness. Welcome to the show, Isabel. Hi.
Hi, Fran. Hi, Carrie. It's so nice to be here again.
We are so happy to have you back on the podcast with us. It's been a little bit. You were on episode 223 when you came back from Hong Kong Disneyland and shared all of that with us. And I have had people reach out and say, oh my gosh, that was so useful. Because they,
great.
Yeah. So you gave some good tips and some great insight into your trip. And now you just got back from Tokyo. So of course we had to talk to you.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be here. It was so much fun last time.
Well, hopefully this time we're as entertaining. Carrie, you think we could be as entertaining? I don't think we're entertaining.
It's all good. Isabel sent us an email, a little trip recap of her trip, and she's very, very excited, and it got us very, very excited. Like, it was the best email we could ever get. It's like perhaps it would almost be someone's pixie dust for the week. It brought me that much joy because I could see how much joy you had sharing your joy, and I was like, This gal, she's got it. Like, she is as cuckoo about Tokyo as we are cuckoo about many other things. So
yes,
we were very excited, and your email, like, I don't know, it definitely brought joy because you were so excited. We could see the enthusiasm and the excitement and the stuff you wanted to share with us because you knew that we would get it, even though we've never been there before. But we did get it. We totally got it.
We did.
And we were like, we got to talk to Isabel ASAP while she's still on her Tokyo Disney high.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And like, you literally just got back, like, it's not that long.
Yeah, we got back a little bit less than a week ago, but the pixie dust, I'm still feeling the pixie dust. It is strong in Tokyo.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so tell us all about it. So how did you start? When did you start planning? I don't even know where to begin. How did you start planning?
She was on a cruise.
Yeah.
I want to go on that cruise too.
I know, that sounded good too.
Exactly. So my parents booked a cruise for last January, and it was just such a tempting itinerary. So we decided to join them. So it was a cruise that it started in Singapore and had stops in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. It ended in Bali. So that was the beginning of the trip. Then I kept an eye out for airfare and all that. It takes a long time to get to Singapore, and it takes an even longer time to come back from Bali. So it's about a 24-hour door-to-door to get to Singapore. And then coming back from Bali, for my parents, it took them like 48 hours, just with like the amount of flights it has to be and layovers and that kind of stuff. So I booked a similar ticket in August. Like, I just kind of came to terms, there's no good way to do this. Like, let's take this long trip back. And it had a layover in Tokyo of I think it was about 10 hours. And, I was thinking, 10 hours, it's going to be such a shame. Like, we'll be so close to Tokyo Disney, but not enough time to go there. And then went to bed, and my first thought when I woke up the next morning was like, I'm still within that 24-hour booking window. I should change that ticket and make it like a longer layover so that we can go to Tokyo Disney. So we ended up doing 4-day layover in Tokyo. Often you can just like add that layover. It doesn't necessarily change the price of the ticket. One of them was an Aeroplan ticket. So anyways, and I remember I dropped a note to Carrie and I told her I did something crazy. Like, I just added a layover in Tokyo on my ticket just so I could go back to Tokyo Disney because we had been about 7 or 8 years ago. So that's really how it came about. So we ended up with 4 days in Tokyo, of which we put 3 of those days towards Tokyo Disney. We had already spent a lot of time in Tokyo. It's a wonderful city. So we thought, okay, we'll go back and do some of our favorite things on that one day, but spend the rest of the time at Tokyo Disney. Once I started to look into it, I hadn't really kept up so much with the news on it because I just never thought I would have the opportunity to go back there. But once I started to look into it and I saw everything that had been done, especially with the new, like there's an entire new area in Tokyo DisneySea, which is called Fantasy Springs, with like major rides and world building and all that. I just ended up thinking, okay, we're going to need like 3 days for sure. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, and that
I
was
love
the
I
beginning of that
love that
trip.
you dropped the email to Carrie to say
Yeah,
I did something crazy because you knew that she would be like, that's not crazy at all.
I
Like that
know,
she's the
exactly.
person that would be like, of course you did. That's okay.
Yeah,
Reaffirm your decision to do something
yeah.
quote unquote crazy.
I just needed somebody who would like not judge me
Yeah.
and get it. So I knew that was Carrie. Yeah.
I love that you said we added 4 more days, and then you're like, in 3 of them we spent at Disneyland.
I know. Yeah, and it's something like people will say sometimes. It's like, oh, you're traveling to this amazing country. Like, how can you justify putting so much time towards a theme park? Which just seems like it's not maybe part of the like history or the culture of the country. But I would say it is. Like it really is in a way a cultural experience. It's very interesting, like for example, to compare the like Tokyo Disneyland to Disneyland in California. I haven't been there, but I think that's a comparison that comes to mind. I compare it mostly with the Magic Kingdom. They have a lot in common as well, but just to see like, when you have the same idea but it gets interpreted by two different cultures, like how does it change?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And it's mostly a locals park, especially Tokyo Disneyland. So when you go there, it's mostly Japanese people around you, like staff and so on. So like it is an opportunity to be together and to kind of, see like kind of like Japanese family enjoying a day in a theme park.
Yeah.
And, so I really don't think it's as isolated from the culture or even the history of the country as we think it is. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
say like if it's your first time in Japan, don't spend all your time in Tokyo Disney, but I think it's definitely like it can be part of the overall experience.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And you know what? It's your vacation. If that's what makes you happy, you spend
Yeah,
all the days in the Disney
yeah,
parks. That's
totally. Yeah,
Because Fran's only going to see the airport and Disney, so
yeah,
in Disneyland when she goes.
pretty
yeah,
much.
So
yeah. So I don't regret like a minute
yeah,
of it.
wow,
Good for you.
that's awesome. So then, what you guys decided to stay on site, and that you were
Yeah,
explaining how like the perks you got for staying on
yeah.
site too.
Yeah, so we decided to do a vacation package, which was lovely. Like it is a little bit more of a splurge. The vacation packages change all the time. I think people watch to see when the next batch is going to come out, and like the kind of perks you get are different every time and prices and all that kind of stuff. The main reason for us getting, well, there were two reasons for us getting the vacation package. So vacation package includes like your stay at the hotel, tickets for the parks, and they'll tell you like which day you're going to which park, um, and like another assortment of perks. The perks are wide ranging, I would say. Like some are what you might expect, like fast passes well, the equivalent of fast passes that you can arrange in advance, that kind of stuff. But this time we got an unlimited drink voucher, which we could just show at any quick service or mobile order, any of those options, and get like any non-alcoholic drink, which that you could see on the menu, which was amazing. But it kind of made me chuckle in terms of the perk. I know they changed it recently to unlimited churros or popcorn. You get the big one.
Oh
And
man.
we also got like a little Mickey stuffy and a little cushion that you can sit on to watch the parade because people sit down for parades there, which is also lovely.
That's
So
nice.
yeah, yeah. But the main motivation for us to stay on site and do the vacation package, so with the new area with Fantasy Springs, at the time we booked, it was still like it's been open for less than a year. It opened early last summer. So access to it was still limited. So a little bit like they did Galaxy's Edge recently, not a few years ago in North America, but like you could only get into the land if you have a pass for one of the attractions, and those passes for the attractions would go like sometimes within seconds when they opened the park. So it was really, for me, it was about like not stressing out about whether I would get to see that part of the park
Yes.
and the new amazing attractions, just having that certainty. So that was part of the vacation package was you knew you would have access to the land for a whole day and unlimited fast passes to those rides for a day, which was amazing. So that was one reason. The other reason is that my husband Ray and I have a little different schedules when it comes to visiting theme parks. So I will go and line up as early as necessary and just stay there and be excited. But he just wants to sleep in a little bit and have a relaxed morning. And sometimes like he won't kind of go as hard all day as I will. So it just works to be on site. Like it felt very easy that he could just join me when he wanted to, and so on. So,
That's a
um,
that's a good
yeah,
point. Like being so close and then you could just kind of
yeah,
split it up.
yeah. So we just kind of splurged and just decided to make it as stress-free as possible. But the previous time we went to Tokyo Disney, we stayed downtown Tokyo and just took the train to the train and then the monorail to get to the parks, and like that worked fine too. So the two approaches are great. Um,
How
yeah,
far
we
is
stayed.
the hotel? Like when like
It's so close. Like I would say the whole. Well, it's interesting because our hotel, I would say, was like a few hundred feet from the park and from the new area of the park, from Fantasy Springs, but that's not the entrance of the park. So you have to take the monorail to the entrance and then kind of walk back. And I'm thinking, the hotel is just like on the other
right
side,
there?
but I probably have like 5,000 steps already to get there. But yeah, it's built at least partly on reclaimed land, so like a man-made island. So it's a little bit of an island slash peninsula. Um, Everything is very close. There's some partner hotels there too. So there's two parks, Disneyland and DisneySea, all the Disney hotels and the partner hotels. There's a little bit of a shopping mall, kind of downtown Disney kind of thing, but not quite. And a monorail that runs in a loop, like between that has those four stops. So it's pretty convenient and like it's its own kind of little resort area. And yeah, we stayed at Toy Story Hotel, which is one of their more um, budget hotel, although it's more like I would say a moderate for in North American terms. But yeah, it's great. Like the theming was so great. It's a bit like it reminds me of Toy Story Land in terms of what it looks like. So outside, you'd have the same like those lights, like kind of Christmas lights at the
Oh,
top and like giant toys and all that. And our room was so adorable. Like the TV is like a big Etch-a-Sketch and it's all
Wow.
decorated like a kind of theme to Andy's room. Yeah, it was really, really cute and fun. They had an amazing breakfast buffet there that was part of our package. So we got to, and it was this interesting combination of like Japanese food and Toy Story themed food. So that was an experience into itself. Yeah, and it was really wonderful. The amenities are interesting too. So in Japan, like often they'll provide you even with pajamas as part of your stay. So Ray got to use the Toy Story pajamas, um,
That's
just for
awesome.
kids. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, we had the greatest time there.
Oh,
Oh, it sounds so fantastic. And
Yeah,
we haven't even got to a park yet.
I've never
I
been in the
know.
park yet. I
Yeah,
want to go.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. To be honest, like I just the first Um, within half an hour of landing in Tokyo in Japan, I just fell back in love with just the country, being there. My first half an hour was going through immigration, using a hotel bathroom, and taking like the shuttle to get to the hotel. And usually those are not the most like pleasant
Happy
activities,
experiences.
but
Yeah.
somehow like Japan just has perfected them so much that I was like, oh my God, I just love this country. Let's plan a Japan vacation again sometime soon so that we can spend more time there. Just everything from like the toilets, which are just like, heated and they play music and like have all these different options on them, to how efficiently they can like get you to board a shuttle. Like everything is so awesome. So yeah.
Wow. Like you wouldn't even think about that, like how efficient and so I'm assuming the parks are efficient
Yeah.
as well. Like,
Yeah, there's like a lot of people there. Like, and people line up early and all that kind of stuff. So when you get there, especially like I go there a little bit before opening, there's just like so many people there, and you would think it would take so long to get in, but they're really good at moving those crowds. And just, yeah, like it's funny, like, because you kind of know there's a lot of people there, but it's just the park just absorbs, has good capacity. It's always very like structured and organized, and the lines are always very like kind of calm and organized and not in the way. Even for parades, like people will sit down to wait for parades for hours to get their spot that they want. But they'll like all the parade routes are marked on the ground. People know like what color tape means which parade or whatever, and they sit down in their spot with like a little cushion or a little mat on the ground, and they just stake out their spot, and like it all works. Like it's just kind of a seamless experience.
wow.
Wow. Like they
Yeah.
at Disneyland, people used to wait like for Fantasmic,
Yeah.
like people would wait all day long and they stopped it. Like they
Right.
can like they've made rules that like you can't really wait until it's time to wait. And like to think that
Yeah.
that park with all those people, they just like they can manage
Yeah.
and
It
the
just
expect maybe
works.
it's just I don't know, just the fact that they figured out a way to let people sit
Like,
for 4 hours or
Yeah.
6 hours before wait for their spot. Like maybe
Yeah.
because they behave, they're not getting in any trouble, they follow the rules. Like they figured out
Yeah.
where the heck they are supposed to sit. I don't know. That's
I think
awesome.
so.
I'd be sitting there.
Yeah, I think, everybody knows like that's the way it goes, and kind of, yeah, it just works.
and did you
So,
need to sit that long to see the parade?
no, I think, if you have like your specific spot that you want and you want to be in the first row, and a lot of people too bring like their stuffed animals with them too. So you'll see people bringing like Duffy's stuffed animals or Duffy's friends, or like I saw somebody who had like dozens of Winnie the Poohs, so they also like sit them down to watch the parade. So you'll see, so
Nice.
if you want to be front row, exactly a specific spot,
Oh
anyone
my
place
gosh.
for like
I
20
think
Winnie the Poohs sitting next to
I
you,
think that's
then you
sort
might
of the
have to work in
same.
advance.
That's sort of the same as Disneyland though. Like if you're saying it's like the Disneyland park is like a local
A
park,
lot
right?
more
Like the
local.
reason
Yeah,
the people that were sitting for hours at Fantasmic
yeah,
were like that's just how they were spending their day. Like and the same
right.
thing, right? Like I'm sure if they're locals and they love the parade and they go every, Thursday with their army of
Yeah.
Pooh Bears. Like that's just what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's important to
Oh my
them. For me,
gosh.
I was just thinking, well, that's one less person in line for rides. So
Yeah.
I'm good with that. But yeah, I did want, like, I'm not a huge parade person, but I did want to see the electrical parade. I have a soft spot for the electrical parade that I know and love from my childhood. So just, the that music when it starts. So I'm always pumped for any opportunity to see any iteration of the electrical parade. So I saw it was on the schedule. It turned out like it's a updated version, so it's quite different. But it still has a little bit of that music, and some of the floats are updated floats. So that's the only parade I made a point of watching. Um, so, but I just strolled up to it like a few minutes before it started, and I wasn't front row, but since people sit down for parades, like it doesn't feel too crowded, like everyone has their little spot,
Yeah.
and even if you're like in the fifth row, you still have a pretty good view, so I didn't feel, and it wasn't maybe the most crowded day, but it wasn't a low crowd day either. It was it was a little bit more crowded than average, like from what I could see from, it's hard for me to compare, but from what I could see from crowd calendars.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Carrie, can you imagine showing up and seeing someone sitting there with like five Pooh Bears?
Yeah. It's
That would be amazing.
amazing. Yeah, it's just so nice to just see people enjoying like their
Yeah.
like being fans in their own way and like feeling like they can do that and that, people will just love seeing it.
Oh, that sounds so fun. And we haven't even talked. Okay, so first we did skim over that you get an unlimited drinks. When I was reading your
Yes.
email and you were talking about the different kinds of drinks you tried, I thought, oh my gosh, Carrie, you would
Yeah.
try these things. Like you,
Mhm.
Carrie's one, she will try anything, like any kind of drink and whatever. And well, I like it or not, she'll drink it and then decide whether she would ever have it again. These were kind of
Yeah.
crazy drinks you were having.
Yeah, so yeah, that was it. I mean, we kind of lived on drinks for 3 days mostly. I think we had one meal in the parks other than drinks. But yeah, so I had looked ahead to see like where can we use those drink vouchers, and like what are the weirdest drinks we can try. Because of course you can get like bottled water and like Coke Zero and things like that. But I just wanted to try unusual things. So I went in the restaurant list and found all the weirdest things we could try. So one that stands out is probably the cheesecake drink. That was offered in a few places. So there's always some kind of theme going on. So they had a theme around like candy and sweets. I didn't totally understand what was going on, but anyways, there were a lot of candy related things around the park. Even like the merch and meet and greet and all that. So they had a few drinks themed to that. So the cheesecake drink was just like what you would imagine would happen if you put cheesecake in a blender with maybe like some milk or something. So it was very tasty and colorful, and it had these little kind of almost colored corn puffs on top,
Oh,
as well.
wow.
And like a lot of these drinks too, when they would serve it to us, they would like motion that it's a drink you need to stir, like you need to mix it right
Okay.
before. So it would be like layered and all that. So that was a very cool one. Don't want to know how many calories were in it, but glad we tasted it. Another neat one we had was it was called like Special Crystal Magic Drink, something like that. And it was outside the Indiana Jones ride there. And it had so different layers of like blue and red kind of soft drink in it. And then some kind of jelly cubes in
Oh my
there, a little bit
gosh.
like bubble tea, something like that. And then on the top, there was like pop rock candy that was sprinkled on it. So then, and that was one of the drinks they told us to stir. So you stir it, and then when you're drinking, you get a mixture of like soft drink and jelly, and then pop rock that fizzes
Oh
as
my
you're.
gosh.
So yeah, so those were kind of some of the fun ones. We had a warm strawberry drink as well. It was kind of chilly when we were there.
Warm
So
strawberry?
yeah, so that is something else that I just couldn't really imagine. But when we had it, we were like, oh, this makes so much sense. It's like hot chocolate, except like strawberry flavored instead of chocolate flavored. So
That's
that was
kind
a
of
fun one.
interesting.
Yeah, in the like Cape Cod area of the park. And lots of nice like iced teas or yeah, fruit juices, that kind of thing. But yeah, so normally we would just go there, get a drink. Most of the time we split them just so we could taste as many different things as possible. But it was just a nice way, especially like we spent 1 day in Tokyo Disneyland and then DisneySea we spent 2 days. The first day we went hard on rides. That's also the day we had the unlimited fast pass for Fantasy Springs. But DisneySea is just a beautiful, beautiful park. Like there's so much detail and atmosphere to it. So I think it's important if you're, a fan of the parks to have enough time to slow down and appreciate those details and not just focus on the rides. So we took a second day there to more kind of do that once. I was like, okay, all my high priority rides are taken care of. Like all the ones I have my strategy for all the kind of long wait ones done. So today I can just kind of slow down and enjoy and just like trying drinks
Nice.
in different areas and just sitting and looking and people watching was a really nice way to do that.
Oh, see, now you've convinced Carrie and I.
Yeah, I was thinking about the two of you that day. I know you've perfected the art of
Doing
like,
nothing?
yeah, enjoying the parks without doing the
Yeah.
rides.
Isabel says it nicer than us. We've perfected the art of doing nothing. We sit on our
Yeah.
bums, we get a drink, and we just sit there.
Hey, like there's something for everyone at
Were there a
Disney
lot of
and
a lot of
yeah.
benches? A lot of benches and places to sit?
Yes. Yeah, there is. There's a lot of seating like around the restaurants as well and a little bit everywhere. In Japan, it's like a no-no to like walk and eat or walk and drink at the same time. It's like you should do one or the other. So we're
Oh,
always trying to be conscious of that and just find a spot to sit and like things are kind of planned
Carrie, I'd have to
based on
sit
that.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but like I've always been a rides person and a bit of a like let's maximize our time like our rides any day we were in the park. And it's really listening to the two of you and how you enjoy the parks that has encouraged me to kind of see the other side and just take in the atmosphere and all that. So it
I'm
has
glad we can help.
influenced. Yeah, it's really influenced like how we enjoy the parks. And I think last year in Hong Kong Disney, like that was one of the first times that I thought, okay, I'm gonna do like Carrie and Fran and like just slow down, enjoy the park for what it is, and it really added a lot to my experience.
Oh, I'm so
Ooh.
glad.
Yeah.
Now, how did the fast passes work? Like with the fast
Yeah.
pass equivalent, is it a much shorter line?
Yes. So I would say it's maybe not quite as short as the like fast pass or lightning lanes I've experienced in the Florida parks. So I felt like they're merging, like where they merge the two lines is a little bit kind of further out. So
Hmm.
it's not like instant, but it's probably like, like 10 minutes or less. So it makes a huge difference. Uh, like everything Disney, it is very complicated and a lot of learning to kind of master that system. So there's like three kinds of, I don't know how much detail to get, but there's like three different kinds of passes right now. So there's like a paid, they call it DPA. So there's a paid option. So you can pay between the equivalent of 10 to 20 Canadian dollars. I would say most of them are around 10 or 15, like for a fast pass for a specific ride. Then there's a free pass, which they call the 40th anniversary to you pass, something like that. So they started it during the anniversary as a free pass to certain rides, so you can get some of those. And then there's standby passes, which aren't a fast pass, but are necessary for some of the attractions and shops that are hard, like where they want to control the crowds because they're very new or very popular, that kind of stuff. So you end up, and they all have like, oh, this one you can take one every 1 hour and this one every 2 hours, or when your window comes up and blah blah. So you end up with a lot of different alarms on your phone to kind of remind you of when to do which ones.
Oh,
Anyways, people who go there, like, I think will just figure it out. It probably changes all the time, but it's worth figuring out and it helps with planning. Um, as part of the vacation package, we got to pre-select some fast pass, 2 or 3 fast passes for every day in advance. So I kind of knew those. Some had specific
nice.
times, some didn't. And then there was like kind of the special Fantasy Spring one. So for Fantasy Springs right now, like for any attraction, you need either to have a DPA, like a fast pass, or get a standby pass before you can go and line up. Otherwise, I think the lines would just be unmanageable because some of the attractions that are like their Tower of Terror, or there's a version of Soaring there too. Like they'll go up more than 2 hours. Indiana Jones too, which is not a new attraction there, like it can go up to 2 hours wait. Although there's a single rider line that nobody seems to use that
Oh,
will
you're
get you
kidding.
there in like 5 minutes. So we took advantage of that for sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So now what about the attractions? So let's talk attractions. Your
Yeah.
favorite one when you think about your trip, what was the
Oh,
one that like, or they're all like so amazing?
yeah, there's so like I was just thinking like especially Disney Sea, there's just so many amazing attractions in there. It's when you think of a park and you're like, oh, those are like the 2 or 3 big
Yes.
attractions. Like I have kind of that mental list for each of the Florida parks. But there it's I don't know. There's so many like I don't even I can't like there's so many. But if I had to pick, like I would say at Disney Sea, the new Peter Pan ride, which is part of the Fantasy Springs expansion, is the most amazing ride I've ever done, and Ray agrees with that. Um, like I'm not even kidding. I mean, seems silly to say, but I feel like I can say that here. Like when I was on that ride, I was just on the ride. I had this thought, like, wow, my life will never be the same after having experienced this. Which maybe was a bit like
We
of
get
a
it. We get
maybe
it.
I
Get
don't
it?
quite feel that way anymore after a week, but anyways, just that was the emotion it made me feel. And at the end, Ray and I turned to each other and he was like, that was amazing. And he's not
And
usually like that, I don't know,
this is a
emotional
kids
about
ride,
race.
right? This is a
Um,
kiddie. This is a like is it a family ride like the Peter Pan that we know, or is it like
no,
or is it like a
it's
Peter? Is
totally
it like
different.
Pirates type
It's
of thing?
totally different. So it's like they took everything they had ever invented for rides and put it all together. So
Oh.
basically, the storyline is that you're part of the Lost Kids. So basically, the Lost Boys, but they call them the Lost Kids so that it can be inclusive of like all the guests who are now a part of it. So you're part of the Lost Kids and you're on this adventure to find John, who's gone missing. So, yeah, so you board a little bit of a pirate ship kind of looking ship. So it's a dark ride as its score. So you board a ship and you're wearing 3D glasses. So you're moving through the dark ride, so through the physical sets, but there's also 3D screens like within the sets. And some of them are huge, like soaring kind of huge. Like it's not
Oh,
just like a little screen like, little round
like in the
screens
Three
like
Caballeros where there's a little
yeah,
picture that looks like
exactly.
a
Like,
TV.
yeah, so you're moving through like a series of almost like soaring level rooms. And there's physical sets as well. And then the boat that you're on is has movement to it too. So like as you're kind of soaring through the air or riding on the water or falling down a waterfall, like it will have some movement to it, a little bit like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway style. So,
Okay.
so it's like Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway in terms of how it's moving, but with soaring screens around you. And then they also use projection, and it's 3D, and they use projection mapping. So at some point, like Tinkerbell sprinkles a little bit of pixie dust on the boat, and they just do projection mapping of like the little shimmering powder on the people in the boat with you, and on yourself, which just like blew my mind.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so there's elements of that, and like I mentioned, the waterfall. So if you've been on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you might remember the bit
Yeah.
where like you go down the waterfall. So there's that effect, but yeah, so it's just so immersive, and it's long, and it's like I kept thinking it was over, and there was like another part to it. It's very immersive. Like you feel like you're in the world and everything is just done so well. Like the screens are amazing resolution and brightness and everything is perfect. Um, I was There's a little bit in common too, I would say, with Remy at Epcot in a sense of like you're moving through physical sets and screens, but the Remy 3D screens, they feel a little bit older technology. I
Mhm.
would say like you never quite forget that it's a screen and glasses. Like they're a little bit less bright and you kind of get that double image a little bit sometimes. So it's not like that, it's up-to-date technology. And the Tokyo parks are managed a little differently, so they're owned by a different, not by Disney, but they're owned by a private company. Um, and of course, they use Disney Imagineering to create the rides and all that kind of stuff. But for the financial piece, like it's this other company that's in control and they don't skimp, like they put in the money to make the ride the best version of what it could be. And they just maintain the rides like so, so well. So I feel like you kind of get to see really the full vision of the Imagineers realize like what is it in their mind, whereas I think they don't always quite get to do that in the US parks.
They don't always land the
Yeah,
exact what they were going for.
yeah. I think we sometimes get the B version of what they could have been able to do if they had a
Yep.
limited budget. So that was a favorite. I think the Frozen ride is the one that gets the most attention. It's also part of Fantasy Springs, but we love Peter Pan even more. Um, I think just if it's someone who has motion sickness, they might be
Mm.
susceptible to it there. So I wouldn't they might have to close their eyes for a little bit or something like that because it's so immersive and of all those elements I talked about. So possibly like for families or people with motion sickness, like they'll prefer the Frozen ride, but Peter Pan was really a favorite. The other one I mean, I don't know. There's so many
They
that
all
I
stand
love. Yeah,
out.
but Sinbad is kind of a sleeper hit, I would say. That's an older ride and never has a wait. Like even when some lines are up to 2 hours, Sinbad is always at 5 minutes. I think it's just a very high capacity. Like it's kind of small world type boats. So they load like three of those boats at a time and like just keep pushing them through. So I think it just keeps up with however many people you throw at it. But it's a wonderful ride with like hundreds of animatronics. They're small, like a little bit like Small World size and a little bit cartoony, but more articulated than Small World. But it's just like it tells a beautiful story, and I think that's what's special about Disney Sea as a whole. Like the each ride that you do, it tells a story in a very emotional way, and it kind of creates a different emotion or emotional tone in you. So even the park as a whole. So Sinbad is a favorite too. It's the story of Sinbad and his little sidekick Chandu, who's a very cute tiger who just go on adventures and everyone loves Sinbad, like he succeeds at everything. So you start the adventure and in Sinbad's village and everyone is like, have a good trip, Sinbad. We wish you the best. All that kind of stuff. And then like you see him doing all these adventures, like rescuing people, like righting wrongs and all that. And then at the end you come back to the village and everyone is like, oh, congratulations, Sinbad, you did so well. So it's just this like positive from start to finish experience of this village that loves this person and is so supportive and everyone loves each other and everyone loves Sinbad. And I don't know, like, when you're losing faith in the world, like just remember there's a Sinbad ride somewhere, and it will
Oh,
kind of console you. And Chandu is the cutest, so
I
And he's a
love
cat
that.
dad on top of it.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, he's a
yeah,
cat
and
dad.
yeah. When we went previously, Sinbad was open. It's not a new ride, and my only regret was like not buying a little Chandu. So I thought, oh, if we
Did
go
you buy
back,
one this
like that,
time though?
yeah,
You
yeah,
got
it was
one.
my priority. So I
I
got a
would
Good
have
for
little
bought a
you.
stuffed
Chandu and then I
Chandu.
would have bought a backup Chandu probably. I
Yeah,
would have bought a backup one.
yeah. Yeah, so I have a Chandu now, and he's so cute. And we were missing our cats by that point of the trip. And especially, we have one cat, his name is Scrappy, and he's like a striped orange cat. So Chandu reminded us
Oh,
of
you're
him.
homesick.
And he's a
Oh,
cat who's kind of like always your sidekick, he comes bicycling with us and walking with us, and he always wants to be involved in whatever we're doing. He's always watching what we're doing, like he's gonna pick it up and do it himself. So in the ride, like Chandu is kind of like that. Like he's always participating in whatever Sinbad is doing and getting in a little bit of trouble. So I think we both thought like we both during the ride both looked at each other and we're like, oh, we miss Scrappy.
oh,
I
Chandu reminds
know.
us. So I don't know. That was an extra layer
that's
to it for
awesome.
us. Yeah.
Now, what about the Frozen ride? So the Frozen,
Yeah.
like you said, that was really like 90% different than what you see in
Yeah.
Epcot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few Frozen rides now across the world. So there's the Epcot one. Last time I was on the show, I talked about the Hong Kong one, and that is like kind of the same ride as Epcot, just kind of, I don't know, 50% better. Like there's just a little bit more detail in every room, that kind of stuff. But for Tokyo, it's a very reimagined ride. There's a few scenes that are the same or inspired by the same things, but like 90% of it is new, different scenes. It really goes through the whole, like the first few scenes, Anna and Elsa are like little kids, so it goes through the whole story, and it's just beautifully done. Like the animatronics are, sorry, I'm tripping over that word today, but they're amazing. Like they're so, so good. All the effects are so good. Um, at one point, like they're huge rooms. It's a long ride. Like it's very cool to see all the world building of it and the new and different scenes. A few things that stand out for me, I think a lot of the rooms are about like Elsa freezing, freezing things or unfreezing things. So there's one scene where Anna is like when you come into the room, Anna is frozen and she of course because it's like basically a robot, like she's completely still and kind of that frozen color, and even her cape is kind of in the air as if it froze while it was in movement. So it's still, and then something like Elsa does something and Anna starts to like thaw out. But in an instant you just see the color changing and she becomes animate, and like even the clothing that looked like frozen in midair all of a sudden is like flowing and stuff. It's just an amazing moment, like one of those amazing moments in a ride, and it's so, so well done. So that stands out to me. And then there's another scene where Elsa like is upset and like freezes the whole scenery, and it's so the characters freeze. There's like icicles that like come out of everywhere. the town, like they use projection mapping to make the buildings like progressively all freeze over. And just out of the corner of your eye, and like I really the first time, you really don't understand what happened. But there's a fountain with water in the room, and it's just in the corner of your eye, and then it turns to like icicles and frozen. So they kind of quickly switch from projection mapping, they rotate it, and all of a sudden it's these icicles like coming out of the kind of a
Wow.
frozen jet of water. And you just look at it and you're like, what, like what happened? How did that happen? So it's so nice. And the whole area around the frozen ride is really well done as well. But some of those effects, and that's something we encountered over and over again, like some of those effects through the parks are, even if you re-ride and you look at it, they're just so well done that it's like hard to kind of accept that, that didn't really disappear in front of my
That
eyes.
that just happened?
Yeah.
It sounds like the technology is amazing.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's not all new technology either. So I'm thinking of like Tower of Terror has an amazing effect in it, and like that's not a brand new ride, so it's been around for a while. So I think it comes down to like just the design of it and
Which
like
effect
the
are you talking about? I've never,
um
I haven't been on the Tower of Terror in probably
yeah,
15
so the
years, so
Tower of Terror is completely rethemed. There. So nothing to do with like the Twilight Zone, I guess, was not something that was really like
oh, it
known.
didn't catch on there yet.
Yeah, it just wasn't in the like public consciousness in the same way as it might be here. So they came up with this storyline. So it's the Harrison Hightower Hotel. So Harrison Hightower, which happens to look like Joe Rohde's twin, is this explorer who's in the story who like goes across the world and basically steals like artifacts from all the different civilizations and brings it back to his hotel to make a museum. So in the queue, you see all this artwork, which is basically like Joe Rohde. Like for example, there's a painting of like Easter Island and like Joe Rohde coming back in a boat with like one of the Easter Island like statues in this
Oh, that's
ridiculously
awesome.
small boat. So it's really kind of, commenting on the kind of colonists like stealing things all over the world. So that's the kind of storyline. And then he brought them all back to like in this very disrespectful way to like this museum. And then one of the artwork or the artifacts he brought back was a little statue of a god that he stole from a culture. And he is so disrespectful in the way like he handles it, and he like stubs out his cigarette on it, so like the statue takes a vengeance and like basically ends his life through the elevator shaft. So
Oh,
the Tower of Terror is in the New York themed area, so it looks like a nice historical hotel and all that. And as you get there, they're like, "Oh, join a tour to see where the Harrison Hightower tragedy happened." And the Kia area has all his like artifacts and artwork, like celebrating himself, and giant like Egyptian inspired statues and masks and tapestries and all that. Um, so in the pre-show area, like where you would get the Rod Sterling spiel in the Florida parks, so they show that little statue and they explain the storyline, and there's animated stained glass telling the story and all that. But like that statue gets like a little bit of green aura around it, like when it gets mad, and it just right in front of your eyes, like it just disappears, and you just can't believe what happened. Um, it's the first time I saw it on our first trip, I was like, wasn't there a statue there like a fraction of a second? And you can just hear like people who haven't seen it before in the room just go like, it's just stunning. So it's and that's not a new ride. So like they were able to do that quite some time ago. But just yeah, so that's an
Amazing.
example. The Frozen is I mentioned a few examples of Frozen.
Yeah.
There's something similar that happens in Soaring. So Soaring is also rethemed. So it's in the Mediterranean harbor section. So it's themed as a like a Italian museum of flight. So you're going through it. It looks just like a museum, but like there's paintings and they get animated like with projection mapping. It's just so good that you can't even after they go back to their initial state and you're so close to them, like that's all pre-show areas, like they just still look like real paintings. Like it's very hard to see the screens and projection effects and all that kind of stuff. And then the Beauty and the Beast ride in Tokyo Disneyland. So that's their newest ride. I think some people might have seen the videos of the animatronics when they um, showed them. I think it might have been at D23 and stuff, but they're like really well done. But there's an effect where the beast transforms into the prince, and it's like so you're so close to it, and it's just the beast like on the ground, and then he sort of levitates like in the movie, and then a second after, like he's a human prince. And we went twice on that ride, and like I was really like looking at it so closely, and it's just done like I can kind of guess at parts of how it's done, but it's just executed so well that like even though you're an adult who doesn't think that actual magic happens, it is hard to believe what's happening in front of your eyes.
It kind of
So
feels like it's magic.
yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, like the Tower of Terror when we were there, there was another couple, like non-Japanese couple there, who spoke English with us, and like when it disappeared, we were just like, wow. And like the guy turned to us and he was like, magic. That's the only possible explanation. So yeah, so there it's full of things like that in the park, so that's really neat experience as well.
That's so, it's funny. I was thinking about it when I read your email that I think the North American parks, there's so much coverage of them, like on YouTube and online, where you almost, even before you ride something, even if you don't watch any spoilers, you kind of know
Yeah,
how they do it. It's like some of that is almost spoiled because you
yeah,
see so much backstage, this people taking video, blah, blah, blah. But these, it sounds like I would almost not want to watch anything before I went because
yeah,
it truly sounds magical. Like you got surprised by parts of the
yes.
attractions.
Yeah, I would recommend that. I mean, we rarely have the chance to, like, it's always feels a little bit ma more magical the first time you get to experience a ride, like when there's a new ride in a park you're used to going to. But, Tokyo is an opportunity to just experience that all day, even if there's some rides that you're familiar with from North America, like they might have hidden surprises or things you don't expect happening in them. So it's really worth keeping those surprises. So I really try not to look at any spoilers ahead of time. I did very briefly look at a little bit of each of the Fantasy Springs rides just to kind of gauge when I was trying to decide whether it was worth it for us to do a vacation package. Like I was trying to get a sense of those four new rides in Fantasy Springs, like how many are must do's for me
Yeah.
to kind of see like, could I just kind of take a chance and prioritize one or prioritize two. So I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna have the briefest of look just to get a sense of what the ride is. But I really thought, okay, but like I really don't want to spoil it for myself. So
Right.
I didn't regret doing that. So yeah, I would encourage people to go into it as unspoiled as it can be, just doing minimal research to kind of see which rides are important for you and help you prioritize, but don't go further than that. Keep the surprises for when you're there.
And what about the Tangled ride? You said
hmm
that was like more just a romantic ride?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So it's very short. So I think it's good to know that going into it, just so like you have the right expectation. And it's like a very low stakes kind of ride. Like you're just going through it, like seeing the romance unfold, but it's not necessarily as much of telling the whole story of Rapunzel, but it's kind of just showing like nice scenes from it. It's beautiful. Like there's um Rapunzel in the tower, and that part of the ride is outside. So it's interesting, like it's a partly outside and partly inside ride, which made it very nice to ride once in the daytime, once at nighttime, because it is a different
Mm.
experience. So like the tower is high. Of course, they use like forced perspective to make it look even higher, but it is high, and there's Rapunzel is in there. She's singing. It's beautiful. Like she looks like a real person. And then there's a later scene which is indoors, where you're just surrounded by lanterns. Like it's a festival of lanterns, so they're in a boat. It's dark. There's lanterns floating in the air. There's projection mapping or screens all around you, so it kind of makes it look like just there's lanterns as far as the eye can see, and it all blends together very well. So just this very romantic kind of
Oh,
ride.
nice.
Um, and low stakes, like there's no like villain or intrigue, so you're just kind of going through it, soaking it in. For that, it reminded me a little bit of the Navi River journey at Animal Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
That's another ride that's like more, and I think, uh, yeah, I think was it Joe Rody who designed that ride?
I think so.
He was saying like, oh, he just wanted to create an atmosphere more so than a story. Like you're just supposed to go through it and have like a feeling for a while, more so than feel like, you're conquering a certain challenge or something like that. So I think it has something of that, and it's a really nice, yeah, I really liked it. It's like a very peaceful kind of ride with, yeah, very nice atmosphere. So after experience that, it made me kind of reflect on how well they did at creating this, because they created this new area onto that Fantasy Springs that's now part of an expansion of DisneySea. So I just thought about the challenge they had. So they're creating a new area. It's going to have four rides, like three of them I would say are e-tickets, and one is a little bit more like a shorter, possibly kiddie ride, but still very good. So, you're given this task to design three new rides, all like big budget e-ticket, but you don't want to do kind of the same thing. None of them are like roller coasters. They're all kind of dark rides. So how do you create like four kind of dark rides that have totally different personalities? And I really think like each one has its different emotion that it's focusing on, and that makes them like totally different experiences. So there's kind of the drama of Frozen, on Peter, yeah, you're just seeing that drama in Peter Pan. You feel like you're part of an adventure, and then the kind of having a romantic moment with Tangled, and then the fourth ride is Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies, and that's just like fun, just pure like fun and whimsy, and that makes the four rides really like four very different, distinct experiences. So like you'll never mix them up, they're very different. Um, I would contrast that to maybe like Epcot in the like when in my childhood. Like I remember when I think back to kind of the Epcot of the 80s and 90s, like I don't know if you were going to Epcot like in that time period, but there were a lot of rides that in my head they all kind of blend together. Like there was one about I think a World of Motion,
World of
the transfer,
Motion. Yeah.
yeah, then Spaceship Earth. There was maybe Wings. I don't remember if that was Magic Kingdom or Epcot, and Horizons. Like they were,
Horizons. Yeah.
yeah, so they
Horizons
were
was
all,
very similar.
yeah, so they all had kind of the same style of character in there, and a little bit of a similar like you're learning about a topic and a similar kind of flow. So I know when I think back to them, they're all kind of mixed up in my mind a little bit, like they're all kind of a little bit similar. well, this is the opposite of that. Like they're so like distinct and have such a distinct flavor and all that. So I think they did a really good job on that and making sure that they were creating very, very different experiences. Even though, they're all about like fairy tale movies and that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
Carrie, it sounds fabulous. Why does it have to be so far away?
Yeah.
I know.
Now,
Yeah.
did you think 3 days was enough?
Um, I mean, I would have stayed longer for sure. We were getting a little tired though, but I would say like any amount of time is good, to be honest. Like if you have one day, I would say like make the most out of DisneySea because it's the most different. If you have 2 days, one day in each park, I think is a good idea. With 3 days, for us, like that was enough. Like we were satisfied. Like we had done all the rides we wanted to do, like the number of times we wanted to do them, and we had some extra time to put towards just soaking in the atmosphere. So I think that was a good number of days, but it does kind of that's based on kind of our assumption of having the vacation package. So it did give us like fast passes, especially the fantasy spring rides are hard to get into. So if you don't have that and you're kind of crossing your fingers for getting either a fast pass for them in the morning, but then you have to wait a couple hours to get your next one, it might run out. Um, or one of those standby passes, which gives you access to the ride, but you might have to wait in line for like an hour. So if it's something like that, maybe in 3 days, you might have to prioritize some rides and not see everything or see all the
Right.
heavy hitters, but you'll have a wonderful day anyways. Yeah, so with the vacation package, I found like 3 days was a good number.
It gave you
Um,
enough time with
yeah.
all the fast passes and everything you worked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like our third day was a little bit shorter. It looked a bit like it was going to rain, and we had to change hotels that night too. So we wanted to save a little bit of energy to relocate to downtown Tokyo. Um, yeah, which was like four
Right.
trains with three transfers
Oh
and,
my
Oh my
gosh.
goodness.
luggage through a subway system that's like very nice and all that, but it's not new, so they don't have elevators or escalators in a lot of places. So, needed to save some. And I just knew after 3 full days of Disney, like doing
Yeah.
that was going to be a little bit challenging. So, yeah, so we decided to, I think we left the park maybe around 3 or 4, just thinking, okay, we have just enough energy left to do that part of the
And then you
logistics.
you went to downtown to get an airport closer to
Yeah.
the hotel or to the
Um,
airport?
so I had picked a hotel, yeah, so that it was easy to get to the airport the next day. It was still about an hour to get to the airport, but it was like one train, like no transfers. Pretty like one of the lines that goes to the airport. So that was one thing I was looking for. The other thing is I picked a hotel that was very close to like in a very historic area of Tokyo, and that was walking distance to Sensoji Temple, which we had been to before, but I thought that that would be somewhere we want to go again, and had a lot of rest. Like it was just a good base. I knew we would be tired, and it would be like our only full day in Tokyo, so we could make the most out of the evening, and then that full day where we were heading to the airport at the end of the day. So I just wanted something where things were within walking distance, and we could leave the luggage at a hotel, explore a little bit, and then head to the hotel. So yeah, that's that was how we ended up
Wow.
without those logistics. Yeah.
And then how was the flight home?
Um, it it wasn't too bad. So we did Tokyo to Vancouver and then Vancouver to Montreal. So I think Tokyo, Vancouver is maybe 9 hours, and then Vancouver to Montreal is like a little five and a
5, isn't
half
it?
hours, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so it wasn't, I don't know, it's long, but in comparison to what my parents did, where it was like 48 hours of transportation, and to the length of the flight from Vancouver to Singapore, which is, I'm trying to remember, I think it's like 15 hours. Like we've had 20-hour flights my parents had a 20-hour flight. Like that's very long. So the
Oh my
nine
gosh.
hour didn't feel too bad. And of course we were exhausted after like the trip as a whole and then 3 days of Disney and then
Yeah.
tiring like last day of Tokyo logistics. So like we slept most of the way. So
Well, that's good. Maybe that's
yeah,
the
that was
trick.
good, yeah.
You just exhaust yourself
Yeah,
while you're there so that you
that's
sleep the
my
whole way
strategy.
home.
Yeah, that's my strategy. But you know, you have to I also try like to be tired when I get home so that then I can sleep through the night on our schedule. So it's like a 12
Yeah.
hour, 10, 12 hour, like depending what part of our trip offset to uh, our to Eastern time zone. So like try to kind
Oh,
of not sleep too much on the plane there and back so that I then won't be able to sleep at the time I should be sleeping. But
right.
it all worked out. Yeah.
To get you back on your time here.
Yeah. 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 That can be hard, but
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
it sounds like such a fantastic trip. Like
Yeah, it was amazing.
you seriously are convincing me that I really want to go.
Yeah, you have to go. You know,
But
I was thinking about the two of you when I was over there and thinking like you have to go.
but I'd need like 3 weeks. Like if I can't walk and drink at the
Yeah.
same time, Carrie will be sitting every 5 minutes for me to sit and drink. Like,
You need that package though with the free drink
Yeah.
coupons.
Yeah.
That's
can
like
you?
they're
Yeah.
never gonna they won't let you back. They're gonna
Yeah.
like Kenya. They're gonna be
They'll
like this
change the
woman
package.
drank $8,000 worth of water the week she was here.
And her friends drinking all these weird, what cheesecake drinks and warm strawberry and Carrie would try them all.
I would for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It
Oh,
sounds like it's such a different experience.
Yeah, it is. And I think I mentioned that when I joined the two of you for the Hong Kong episode, but you know, I at the time I still believe it. I think like Tokyo Disney is worth planning a trip to where the main goal is to go to Tokyo Disneyland. Like if you're a fan, like it's so worth it. It's just extraordinary. Like it's a different level. It's where just even if that's the only thing you were going to do, it's amazing. I would encourage people to take in like the rest of Tokyo and Japan because there's so much to see. Hong Kong Disney, like not quite as much. I think if you're interested in a trip to Hong Kong or to that area, like it's worth adding a day or a couple of days for Hong Kong Disney, but it's not quite the like you have to plan a trip
Right.
just to go there. But Tokyo Disney, like definitely, it's just yeah, you have the impression of just living like seeing the full potential being realized of what the Imagineers can do.
Oh, Carrie, what are we gonna do?
awesome.
I
Any other
know.
trip?
Yeah.
Yes. Isabel, this is so enlightened. Like it makes me so excited at the thought of the possibilities. And I love to hear just the magic that
Yeah.
comes with it there. Like that's the whole point. That's the Disney parks. And
hmm
I love it.
Yeah, from the time like Disney Sea in particular, so it's themed around like the seas and o ocean. Took me a while to clue into that, but you know, Disneyland and Disney Sea, like
See?
yeah, so it's really themed around that and so the different areas, so there's the Mediterranean harbor, there's like a New York harbor kind of area, there's a Cape Cod area. There's like the Indiana Jones, they call that the Lost River Delta. Then there's like a steampunk Jules Verne kind of area as well. That's like the volcano that's in the middle. So there's like a land inside the volcano. Um, and there's there's an area, I don't know there's a Little Mermaid area, and then there's an area around Sinbad that I don't quite know remember what it's called. So all those different areas, it's a little bit like Epcot kind of vibe, but each piece is sea and it's bigger
Wow.
and all that. But like the moment you step in and you see kind of the lagoon in the middle and all those lands around it, it's just like a awe-inspiring moment. You know, you just the beauty of what it looks like and the amount of detail everywhere and all the little hidden jokes and all the care taken into everything and how it all fits in together. Like just that moment is like so magical. And that's like even before you do any of the
You do
rides or taste
anything.
any of the drinks. Yeah, it's very unique. Like,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your trip with us. Like this is amazing. I
yeah,
just Carrie, we got to figure out, I don't know. I don't know how we figure it out. It's a long way to go, but I really want to go.
yeah,
I need, you know what
it's
I
worth
need
it.
are like ruby slippers. You know, you click your heels twice
Yeah,
and you're there.
teleportation.
That's what I need.
Yeah,
For people
Yeah.
that Carrie's just shaking her head at me.
yeah. I mean, it's worth it. Like, we're all like every time we travel like ahead of time, we're like, oh, look at those flights. It's going to be so long. My mom in particular, like for I think 6 months, she was like, oh, that flight, it's going to be so hard and all that. But it's never as bad as you think. I think when
Think
you
it's gonna be.
over like
Yeah.
inflate it in your head and worry about it, it makes it seem like bigger, but then you're kind of pumped to do it and like it feels
Yeah.
like this. So it never feels as bad as I think you would think it is. And like it's so worth it. Like once you're there, you just
Yeah.
don't
You
regret.
forget you don't regret the
Yeah.
flight.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and we just,
amazing.
we fly economy and it's fine, like we make it, I tried to get good seats and all that, and we did kind of luck out, but if you're an experienced flyer and you kind of know like where you want to sit and kind of
Yeah.
those kinds of tricks and how to try to not get somebody sitting next to you and all that kind of stuff, those things can all help, but anyone can do it. Like, well, it's just worth it.
Yes.
So I gotta bite the bullet and do it.
Do it.
Just do
Yeah,
it. Just do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we will.
We're not usually very hard to convince for things.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Thank
dear.
you again so much, Isabel, for this. This is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking to me about it. It's just like I'm kind of reliving it as we speak and yeah,
We can
just
hear
getting
the
excited all
excitement.
over
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you listen to the podcast, so you know how this goes. At the end of the show, we all share something that brought us joy, our pixie dust of the week. Do you have pixie dust that you had this week, Isabel?
I do. So with the trip being over, I'm starting to think about the summer and my garden. So I love gardening. I grow a lot of our fruits and most of our fruits and vegetables. So it's like a big adventure for me every year. And when we came back, or a couple days after we got back, so this week, I got my first seeds of the year in the mail. So it's always exciting for me to get those packages and open them and see the seeds that I ordered and all that. So I got my first seeds, which came from a grower in Nova Scotia, and they're mostly bean seeds. So I grow a lot of dried beans to make like chili
Ah,
and soup. And yeah, I started to develop a slight obsession with those dried beans. They come in all different colors. So in this one, I have some green ones and some called Hadisonini. Let me see. Yeah, so I have purple and pink ones and Portal Jade, which is green, and Haudenosaunee skunk beans, which are like black and white striped and all that. So I was just looking through all my beans and getting excited about starting some seedlings and a garden to come and all that kind of stuff. It's the first sign of spring, I think. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's
so that was my
exciting.
pixie dust for this week.
Good for you. And you write a blog about some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah,
Where
so
where can
that's
people find you?
So it's called Happy Bee Homestead. So if you Google that or happybeehomestead.weebly.com, you can find I kind of blog about our gardening and everything related. So about just like
Awesome.
being on a journey to like being as self-sufficient as we can for our food. So if you're interested in that and you live in a similar gardening climate and all that, I think hopefully like some people might find it interesting and useful to check it out. But for me, it's just
Absolutely.
a pleasure to kind of share the pictures and the things I learn as we go on this journey.
I love it. I love it. And I will put the link in the show notes so it makes it easy for people to find you.
Great.
That's awesome. Carrie,
Mhm.
top that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of spring, my aunt yesterday, it was her birthday.
Yes,
So
happy
we got to
birthday, Carol.
spend happy birthday, and Carol. She had a bit of a milestone birthday, so we had a little bit of a outing. The ladies went for lunch or early dinner, and then we had cake and we puzzled and we hung out. And my aunt's granddaughter surprised her for a visit. She was waiting all day for a
Oh,
delivery, and she thought like her they were gonna deliver a like she was waiting for a gift to be delivered. Like, and I was joking with her like, my gift is getting delivered at the house at like 7 or 7:30 or whatever. But it ended up being her granddaughter. So her granddaughter came over and surprised her, and that just brightened, made her day as bright as it could be. Her birthday as bright as it could be. So, well, I guess if she had all of her grandkids there, but she was very surprised that she got an in-person visit. So that was some pixie
oh,
dust
that would have
for this
been
week. But speaking of spring, she's
fantastic.
counting down to spring. So she told me yesterday that it's only 44 days till spring. So I don't know if that's true,
Ah,
but she loves the spring and she can't wait. Like every single
nice.
day, she counts down to spring. So I thought it was
That's
pretty things, yeah.
awesome.
So that's my pixie dust.
That's
Had a good, really
amazing,
good
Pixie
day.
Dust. That would have been
Mm-hmm.
such a joy to see, like
Mm-hmm.
the surprise.
It
And
was
yeah,
it was cool.
the
It was
days are
fun.
getting longer for sure, which is nice.
What about you? What's your pixie dust?
My pixie dust is I finally painted my house. I've been talking about this. I don't even know that I think I talked about it that I was going to have it done, whatever. So it's finally done. I live in chaos at the moment because I had to pack stuff up. So it's kind of like I just moved in and I'm unpacking stuff. I had someone very lovely come and help me last weekend to unpack one of my cabinets. So Miss Carrie came and unpacked all of my China collectibles and put them in she arranged it so beautifully.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, seriously. Even my sister came by yesterday to see the painting and she was like, "Oh my gosh, your cabinet looks fabulous." I'm like, "Yeah, that was Carrie." So yeah, my house is done. I had them come in and there were 5 people that arrived in the morning, but by the time I came home, there were 7 of them that were in here painting. And it's so much brighter. It's just so beautiful. I bought a new cabinet that's behind me so that I don't, it looks much nicer. My nephew came over, God love him, and helped me put it together. It took us an awful long time. I don't think he knew that he was committing to like 5 hours with me. But yeah, it all got done and I just feel so much better. It just feels so bright. It feels much brighter in my house. So that was
Yeah,
my
it's
pick.
awesome. It is very
Yeah.
it's very different, like very, very, very bright and
It's amazing what a lick of paint can do.
mm-hmm,
It's insane. Yeah.
amazing.
So I'm very happy. So yeah, that's my pixie dust.
That's
Well,
great. The cabinet looks great, I have to say.
thank you. Yeah,
No
I'm pretty
pigment
happy
in
with
there. Yeah.
it. Thank you again so much, Isabel, for coming on again and sharing your adventures with us. I think you've probably motivated more than just Carrie and I to go check this out.
I'm sure.
Yeah, yes. So thank you again. And we'll leave in the show notes your website so people can find you. And if you guys enjoy the podcast, make sure you tell a friend about it, share us with people you know, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You always say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast player so you'll get a new episode every week. And find us on social media too. We'd love to hear from you.
Till next time, remember, you are never too old to be young. Chase your dreams and design your own happily ever after.